Hello everyone and welcome to another video by Derek Slide. This one will be featuring Tier 6 destroyers, and the purpose is to just enlighten you as to what my top 3 picks are for rank this season. We're going to be starting with the number 1 pick on my list, which is the Anshan. I know it is a premium, so it's not available to everyone, but this is going to be an extremely strong ship. First of all, the Anshan is virtually identical to the Gnevny, another premium ship, which is Tier 5. Now, this doesn't mean she's going to be weak at Tier 6. Quite the opposite. In fact, the Gnevny functions virtually the same and does extremely well against Tier 6 ships. It's quite the powerful destroyer. Let me explain why. Great hit points, 14,400. Great main batteries with the recent Soviet buff to HE damage. The shells hit harder. Decent fire chance. Torpedo tubes with 8-kilometer torpedoes. Same speed, or nearly the same speed. I think they're actually slightly faster than the Imperial Japanese Navy torpedoes, with almost the same amount of range, 8 kilometers, which is fine because your concealment is 7 kilometers base. If you end up using the concealment expert skill, then you'll drop down to 6.3, which is a must, I think, for this ranked season. It's a fantastic ship. In addition, you can pick up AFT to take these guns' range even further out, from a healthy 11.9 to about 13 kilometers. There is virtually no weakness with the Anshan. It is going to dominate. I predict it will dominate ranked season in terms of destroyer play. Virtually no weakness and no drawback to using this ship. So there you have it. That's the number 1 pick. Now, I am glossing over the fact that you might have to deal with CVs, but all destroyers, with the exception of the Farragut, will have equivalent issues dealing with CVs. The thing with the Anshan is her AA is pathetic. If you look here, it says AA guns, 37mm, 61 SHI. Well, they're just missing the T, and then this would be perfect. And then it would accurately describe the usefulness of her AA guns. So take that with a grain of salt. Number 1 pick, Anshan. If you have it, give it a shot. I hope you won't be disappointed. When we go over to the next ship, or number 2, this shouldn't be that much of a surprise to anyone who's already played ranked at the Tier 5 and 6 bracket like it used to be a couple of seasons ago. We got the Farragut, number 2, and there are multiple reasons why. We'll start into the bonuses, or the bonuses and flexibility of the Farragut. She has 2 hulls, one of which comes with speed boost, and the other which comes with defensive fire. Now, defensive fire, you can use that hull if you're seeing a lot of CVs, and you're going to want to switch to the defensive fire consumable over here. It would actually open up for you if you were to take this hull, okay? And in addition, she's got decent guns, although she loses one if you take the defensive fire hull, otherwise known as Farragut Sea Hull, all right? So that is something to consider. Decent guns. The only big issue with the guns is that the arc is high, so the guns, the shells tend to parachute. But it should be noted that the reload is slightly faster than the Anshan, and the damage is quite similar. When we look at her AA package, it's not any more significant than the Gnevny. That's certainly not why I'm choosing the Farragut, but it would be noted that she's got long-range AA potential with her 127mm dual-purpose guns. You're probably still not going to shoot down many planes with this ship, and that's really not the reason you're getting it and why it's in second place. Her maneuverability comes in at 36.5 knots with a super good rudder shift time and an amazing turning circle radius. Her concealment is slightly worse than the Anshan's, but with Concealment Expert it drops down to a respectable 6.6, although the 0.3 kilometer window is a problem. For the Farragut, she'll be one of the first detected destroyers out of all your picks. The reality of the situation is she can handle herself in combat. Now, the one issue with the Farragut that I take great exception to is how much hit points she has. She doesn't have a lot. At 11,500, it's almost necessary for you to take Survivability Expert to compete with a destroyer like the Anshan. She still rocks in place at number 2, just by virtue of her all-around dependability and the addition of defensive fire if she goes over to the Sea Hull. Now, number 3 pick was extremely difficult for me. I've got to tell you, out of all the destroyers I'm looking at, there really isn't anything after these 2 ships that scream major effectiveness. So I went with something that I felt people are going to be playing with, number 3 pick, now that I wouldn't personally play, but that will find usefulness on the battlefield. And why I went with this pick, I'll explain. Let me show you. Now, I don't actually own the ship. I don't have any intention of playing it, but it will be effective. And the reality of the situation is we're going to see a lot of them. And yes, some of you may have already guessed, number 3 is the Fubuki. Now, you may be wondering, Derek, why didn't you go with the Shinonome? Well, the Shinonome's 8-kilometer torpedoes just don't make the cut. Reality of the situation is the Fubuki will end up getting um, 4 guns, which, if I'm not mistaken, let me check the Shinonome because I don't recall now. I might get it. Yeah, which is less than the Shinonome. She gets 4 guns, which is less than the Shinonome. But what she makes up for is that she has 3 racks of 3 torpedoes each. She kept her racks of torpedoes when being downgraded to a tier 6 ship. So she has more torpedoes than the Hatsuharu. She has more than the Shinonome by 1, but still nonetheless more. And what it comes down to is that she is going to be an all-around contender. Now, the Fubuki does have a few weaknesses. Believe it or not, her guns are not one of them. They hit extremely hard, same damage as the Farragut, but they tend to have better penetration, and she has the same fire chance. If you look at the shell velocity, you'll notice that it's going to be easier to lead your target with the Fubuki than the Farragut. The real strength here, of course, is the torpedoes, which I already mentioned. Now, currently, you see the 6 kilometers equipped, but if I click here, you'll see B-hull, and then followed by Mod 2, 10-kilometer torpedoes, 3 triples. The reload time is 76 seconds, barely more than a minute. Barely more than a minute. That's extremely fast. That's faster than the Farragut and the Anshan, okay? And they travel 10 kilometers at a slowish 59 knots. So what your objective in playing the Fubuki will be is area denial against battleships and cruisers, and you're probably going to be focusing on smoking the fleet. Now, while you don't have American smoke, it's still going to be a solid contender. At least that's my opinion. Your AA, of course, is a joke, but if you look at all the various AA that the Fubuki has, if there are planes flying over her, she is more likely, believe it or not, than any of the other classes to shoot them down because of the accumulated damage. The reality of the situation, she has no long-range AA, so she's at the mercy. She's going to be at the mercy of CVs everywhere. Since I'm still on the fence about how many we're going to see, there's, in my opinion, the Fubuki, out of all the other DDs, is probably going to be the most solid pick. Great maneuverability, decent concealment, same as the Anshan, so with concealment expert she'll drop to 6.3. Firmly entrenches the Fubuki as my number 3 pick. This ranked season will be especially tough on the cruisers, which is why the Fubuki is in number 3. I don't really think there will be that much of a threat for the Fubuki outside of a CV, due to the fact that we're just simply not going to see any radar this season, and that will be a huge bonus for her. So, that will conclude my top 3. I will put a complete ranking in the description. I hope this was of use and of some help to those of you that are prepping for ranked. And let me know what you think in the comments. Until next time, folks, stay well.